Shalom everybody. So now we got to the creation of man and woman and the sanctification of the seventh day. So after God created aura and fish creatures and sea creatures and land creatures and everything we discussed before, we got to the sixth day. The sixth day, it says he created man, and it says he created it male and female, which is, there's many ways of seeing it. So I'll represent one way, which kind of makes more sense to me, but again, there's many ways of seeing it. It's not clear cut. So it sounds like when he created man, it sounds like a bit different than the rest of the creations. It's the wording is more festival. God said, "Let us create man in our image." That's the wording. That means it's in an image of God. It's different from the other things. And what does that mean? It's very difficult to understand. But one way of seeing it is even in the fact that people speak. They have the power of speech. We said at the beginning that the whole world was created by speech. God said, Yehi Or, and Ora represented itself and materialized into different things. And if humankind has that gift, perhaps that's what can make it close to God. That's one very acceptable way of seeing it, that we can create worlds, and the reason why we can really develop as humankind is because we have ideas, and we can develop them into things, and to exchange ideas and make them happen, and so on and so forth, make the world get to the place where it is today. So it says he created it man and woman. What does that mean? One way of seeing it is that perhaps male and female were kind of attached to each other, kind of two sides of one creation, physically. How do we understand that? Because later in the next few psukim, or it says in the next few verses afterwards, it says when man did not feel happy, he was not content, then it says God made him sleep, and then he took one of his tzelah. So let's just dwell on this for a second. First of all, the fact that he made him sleep before he made this operation, and perhaps divided the two sides of male and female into two separate units, one male and one female, that itself is worth just noting, because what we know from modern science is only in the 1800s there was actually an American doctor, Dr. Lung, and there's stamps and statues in his image, because assumingly he invented the idea of putting people to sleep before actually operating on them. Till then it was horrific, like during wars and everything, whenever there was some kind of sickness spread or some kind of injury, then people used to do these operations, chop like different organs and everything without putting people into sleep. It was crazy. And only the 1800s there was this appreciation and revelation that we should put the person to sleep, and then the whole process is much easier, less traumatic, etc. But perhaps he was inspired by this very first operation when God separates male from female. And the reason why we can also understand, I know usually the concept is that he took the rib from man, but that is because the Hebrew word is tzelah. This word tzelah, if you open a dictionary, has two meanings. One, indeed, means a rib, that organ in the body, that part of the body. And two, tzelah also means a side. Like when you want to refer to one side of the mountain, you say tzelah hahar. This is common to use the word tzelah also to say when you want to say side. So if you interpret tzelah as side, then indeed he separated the two sides of this human creature into male and female, and he gave him an assignment of man, or I'm saying man, I'm referring to humankind, like this Adam, as he called him, Adam, was first of all he gave him an assignment to give names to all the creatures that he created, that God created. And it said whatever name he gave them was actually was the essence of that creature. So if he said sus, that means horse. Indeed, you got the essence. The name is in the essence, or the essence is in the name. But then again, man was not sufficed till he had his own separate, till he was separated into male and female, and perhaps that can explain why people have this. Not everybody, whoever is lucky, can feel and gains true love. Then there's some kind of feeling of completion, something complete, or like as if you hit home, because perhaps it can explain it, because you go back to the initial way of the way perhaps we were created as man, as male and female. That's a kind of a romantic way of seeing it, but it's kind of implied in the text. So that's man. The fact that he was on the sixth day can mean one of two things. Either that again he's the crown of creation, and both things apply. And on the other hand, if man gets haughty, or I rule, I'm the crown of creation, then you can always say, well, even a mosquito came before you. Like some humbleness won't do you no harm. You were created at the end. So everything about man is like these two sides, like once male, female, the crown of creation or the end of creation. And that's symbolic of what really makes man separate, humans separate from other things. He doesn't only work from instincts. We have the ability as humankind. We have the freedom of choice. We can determine if to go this side or that side, to see things one way or another way. The power of holding two opposites and thus having freedom of choice is something unique to humankind. And when that is done, we get to the seventh day, which isn't just the day that God ceased to create, but is a creation in itself. It said God finished on the sixth day and right away the seventh day, and he sanctified the seventh day, which made it the resting day. So it's not just that he stopped on that day, but there's actually some kind of uniqueness in the seventh day, that a certain element of sanctification, of holiness that is on the seventh day. And it's interesting to note again, if you look all around cultures and everything, I think the French once tried to make the weeks with a combination of 10 days, but it didn't work. And somehow all cultures and everyone just accepted it. Ever since, a week is 7 days and not 8 or 5 or 10, ever since the beginning of creation. But it was only afterwards the Jewish nation that actually made a thing out of it and sanctified the seventh day and made it the Sabbath. 7 in Hebrew, Sheva. Shabbat is the seventh day, and made it a holy day in itself, where you deliberately do not cease to work, and you try to make it more of a holier day.